We made it to Tasmania, friends. Well, Soul Searcher actually made it ahead of time, thanks to Art, Cindy, and our seasick warrior, Chris. But we're here, finally, ready to start the bucket list trip of a lifetime. Hang on, get ready for adventure, and let's dive right in, even though the water is too cold to get off the boat. Landing in Hobart felt like stepping into another world, one with cooler weather, amazing views, and most importantly, an Irish pub just down the road. After all, it was St. Paddy's Day. Nothing says, "Welcome to Tasmania," like a proper Guinness. And maybe some fish and chips, gotta keep that nautical theme going. Hobart is a beautiful, shining gem. From its colorful markets to the incredible views, it's got a little bit of everything. And speaking of views, we did brave the icy winds to head up to Mount Wellington. But first things first, we ended up having dinner at a cool little Mexican restaurant named Tacos that Art and Cindy had scoped out for us. It became our favorite. We must have eaten there 3 or 4 times. Next up, nature. Tasmania has some of the tallest trees you'll ever see. Plus, we got a chance to see some beautiful, stunning waterfalls that felt like they were straight out of a fairy tale. I felt tiny, like a hobbit wandering through an ancient forest. What are we doing today, Bob?
So today we are at Tahoon Adventures, and we are doing the Airwalk, which is a bridge that goes up over the canopy of the forest. So you're 30 meters up in the air, and then at the end of it you get to the river, and you are now 50 meters over the river. So we're going to see what that's like, and after we get done with that, back in the car, we got about an hour drive, and then we're going in some caves. So today's a fun adventure day.
Stay tuned. The Tahoon Airwalk was really cool. 150 feet up, suspended over the forest on a swaying bridge that you can see through. It's a good thing that Chris does not get airsick. What'd you think?
Great. Everyone should do it. Yeah, it was cool. And there's really sway out there, and we can make it sway even further.
And then there are the caves. It's like Mother Nature said, hey, let's get dramatic. Maybe it was a place where the prisoners could hide years ago when Tasmania was first being settled. Then it was time for Chris and his 6-month supply of Vegemite crackers to head back to the United States. He decided that the Gulf of Mexico is more his speed, and it was time for us to hit the road again. First stop on our overland trip, Penguin, Tasmania, 4 hours, 195 miles away from Hobart. We're very excited to be in Penguin, Tasmania today. We're here to see all the penguin statues and to shop in the penguin gift store and take a picture of all the little kitschy penguin things. And most importantly, tonight when we leave, we're gonna go out of town and we're actually gonna go watch the blue penguins come in from their day out at sea. So stay tuned. And why? Because penguins are my spirit animal, and I could not resist a town named after them. Penguin, Tasmania is home to about 5,000 wonderful citizens and 3,000 penguins. Unfortunately, they were all out at sea while we were visiting during the day. They only come in at night to go to their burrows and take care of their young. So we spent a really fun day exploring the town of Penguin, Tasmania, and getting to know some of the people who live there. We also spent some time on the beach. It was so cool to look out from that North Shore beach and see the Bass Strait, knowing that when we were heading home towards Melbourne, we would be crossing that body of water to get back to mainland Australia. What an amazing day. The real stars of the show, as far as I'm concerned, these little blue penguins. These tiny, adorable fluff balls are found only in Australia and New Zealand, and they are worth every bit of the travel and every bit of the wait. I just love them. Next up, Levin Canyon. This view will stop you in your tracks. It's that spectacular. We could not resist sending the drone up to capture it all. Then we hit the East Coast on our way home, where the highway practically hugs the shoreline. Every few miles we pull over just to soak it all in. Bob says he thinks we stopped more than we drove, but can you blame us? The coast was gorgeous with just miles and miles of beaches. But as much as we loved exploring the coast, all good road trips must come to an end. And that's a pretty exciting thing when your next trip is heading out on Soul Searcher. And that's just what we were doing. Heading out of Hobart, heading out of the comfort and safety of the marina into the wilds of Tasmania to see some of the beautiful sights we could only dream about for years and years. Bob and I were super excited to get back out on Soul Searcher and the water. But I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I was full of trepidation. After all, Tasmania was potentially some of the roughest water we were ever going to have been in. It actually turned out that for at least this trip out of Hobart, my imagination was worse than the actual reality of the situation. It was a little rough coming around the corner out into open water, but it wasn't horrible. Anyway, when we ended up 36.5 nautical miles away at our destination of Eaglehawk Neck, I thought I had died and went to heaven. It was that beautiful. Eaglehawk Neck might be the most beautiful anchorage in all of Tasmania. And the reason I say that is because I haven't seen all of the anchorages. On one side, a calm, crystal clear water. On the other, the sea rages like a wild beast. It's a little surreal, like floating between two worlds. It was such a powerful experience to see Soul Searcher, looking for every intent and purpose like she was floating in the clouds. During the day when it was flat calm, we staked out a cool little spot to take the dinghy to so we could wade to shore and then walk over to Bruny Island to see the penguins come back from the sea. By nighttime, a cold breeze had kicked up, and we braved that and the rough waters, hoping to see the penguins return from the Southern Ocean. But alas, there were no little clues. We think it was too rough for them to come back in. And then getting back to Soul Searcher that night was an adventure. The waves were icy, the wind was relentless, and the dinghy felt like it was trying to escape. Bob said that watching Art and Cindy wrestle that dinghy back onto the platform in those conditions was some of the most treacherous work he'd ever seen them do. It was scary. Next morning, it was like we'd imagined the whole thing. The waters were calm, the sun was shining, and it looked as peaceful as ever. It was like we'd been visited by the Furies in the night. We took a 4-kilometer walk over to see the blowhole, which was my first experience with something like that. It was pretty cool and well worth it. I don't know if it was worth the 4-kilometer walk back, though. We also spent some time kicking around exploring other anchorages in protected areas, Barilla Bay, Lime Bay State Reserve, and Rose Bay. Each one was uniquely stunning, and they made us appreciate just how diverse Tasmania's coastline really is. It's incredible. Around every little corner, it's like you're in a different world. Well, we were really excited that our next visitors aboard Soul Searcher were going to be our friends Margie and Russ. We had met online by following Russ on his adventures on Cruising Sunrise, his own boat. He was an Australian who knew we were interested and looking for a boat. So when we flew to Sydney to look at Soul Searcher, we also met up with Margie and Russ and became fast friends. Fast forward, and now we're going to host them on Soul Searcher. We are so excited. With Margie and Russ arriving soon, we're back in Hobart to provision and prep for the next leg of the journey. And trust me, the adventures in Tasmania are only just beginning. If you've enjoyed this first taste of Tasmania, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And leave us a comment below. What's your kind of adventure? We really want to hear from you. We'll be back with more of Tasmania and other adventures to follow on Soul Searcher, especially excited about our friends Margie and Russ coming aboard. And in the meantime, keep searching.
In the ocean of my love.